All right, hey everyone, welcome to the China KL marketing course. And this is the first video of the whole course. And my name is Steven. I'll be one of your instructor. Other instructor will be Evgeny, which is my good friend and partner, and who is the author of The Dark Side of China as well. So let's get started. So the goal of this course is to give you guys an overview of how KOL marketing works, what exactly it is, and how you can actually implement specific campaigns leveraging KOL marketing in the right way to grow your brand presence and make more sales and revenue, so on and so forth. So the whole course is actually broken down into 6 different videos, and we're going to go over just to give you an idea on what exactly each one is going to cover. So this one, we're just going to go over the general basic idea of what exactly is KOL marketing and what is the difference between China KOL marketing and say the Western. And we're also going to talk about what most experts will tell you that's wrong about KOL marketing and how exactly the system works in China in terms of KOL marketing. And in the subsequent video, we're going to go into more in depth on how to find the right KOL for your brand, crafting a successful KOL strategy for your brand. And we're actually going to talk about the dark side of KOL marketing, which a lot of people don't talk about. So we're going to share a lot of experiences, both from ourselves, our clients, and people that we know that had, terrible experiences. That's going to save you guys a lot of money, pitfalls to avoid. Then we're going to talk about how to measure and set KPIs for your KOL marketing. And finally, we're going to talk about how to think about budgeting, how to efficiently invest into these kind of KOL campaigns and marketing. All right, so let's get started. So first of all, the way our course is going to work is me and Evgeny are both going to fill out certain specific topics. I know he's been quiet, but he's there, trust me, and then he's going to jump in on it. So why don't you actually just say hi first before I get into the first slide?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I was just waiting when you let me say something. Hello, guys. Hello.
Awesome. So let's get started. So first of all, let's talk about what exactly is KOL marketing. So the basic idea of KOL marketing is KOL actually stands for Key Opinion Leader. Now, I don't really know who came up with exactly the term, but it's the same thing as what we are calling in the West or in US, Canada, Russia, or really most of the other parts of the world, influencer marketing. So KOL marketing is the same as influencer marketing, except the term influencer marketing is not really used here in China, and rather it's used as a key opinion leader. Actually, if I'm correct, KOL marketing is also used in places like Singapore, Malaysia, and really the Asian area. That word is used more often. However, the idea of KOL marketing to a lot of foreign business and how most experts sort of present it is they generally talk about internet influencers. So in Chinese, it's called Wang Hong. It just means they're hot on or they're trending on the internet. But in the West, it's also sort of having that idea as well. So Instagram, YouTube, influencer. But the reality is KOL marketing has been around for a long time. It's not really something new. It is something that's becoming more and more popular. It is because more and more smaller and medium-sized business brands or even large brands can leverage it in many different ways than it used to be. So basically, the idea of KOL marketing is really to find and hire someone of influence. It doesn't have to be a celebrity. It doesn't have to be an internet, Wang Hong or somebody that's hot on the internet or someone with a lot of follower. But it's really just to borrow their influence. But typically, they break down into 3 different types of KOL. Of course, there's more, but let me kind of go over the first one. And the first one is really the most traditional or most, the ones that most big brands have been using for many years. Ever since there's
Please introduce to us. Yeah, can you introduce to us this nice-looking young lady?
Oh, of course. So she's a celebrity. She's actually quite popular, at least as of right now, and even a couple years ago. Her name is Young Mi. And the reason I chose her, because there's a lot of celebrities in China, and most celebrities actually are KOLs, and they actually do endorse multiple products. But the reason I chose her is she is actually considered to be 带货which really just translates to the goddess of selling products. So she's not only a celebrity, she's a KOL, but she's able to move product. So this is something we're going to talk about a little bit later about how to sort of think about KPIs and finding the right KOL and sort of the dark side. But not every KOL is able to move product, but she is able to sell a lot of products. She's the face of Store Women in China, which is Boot. If you don't know what that is, it's a high-end boots for women, and she's also, I believe, the spokesperson for Michael Kors. I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure she was, but I'm not sure if she still is. But she's extremely popular because she's somewhat controversial in China. So girls like her because she moves a lot of fashion. They think she's a fashion, uh, fashion trendsetter. So that's why one of the reasons. But the type of KOL that most experts or most influencer marketers or marketers talk about is really the internet, right? Because traditionally, if you want to work with celebrities, they're very expensive. I mean, if you want Tom Cruise or Hugh Jackman or somebody to endorse your product, you're going to spend millions of dollars working with them oftentimes, right? But because of internet, because that now someone like him, Li Jiaqin, he's actually extremely big now, but he can literally start to get millions and hundreds of millions of followers in his case to endorse products for smaller and medium brands for lesser cost. Now, he's a little bit bigger. He may be actually quite expensive now because he's also considered a god of selling makeup products and fashion, not fashion really, but makeup, skincare, or along that line. So he literally came from just an average guy. I can't remember exactly. I think he used to sell makeup, and then he started doing a lot of Weibo and Douyin. So these are internet stars, and there's a ton of them. Okay, and we're gonna talk about the difference between China and say the rest of the world. We're gonna explain exactly the type of KOLs a little bit later. But just so you know, but most brands talk about this. And then finally, another one is something that most brands don't think about, which is industry thought leaders. So I have a picture here of Jack Ma, but you can really replace him with say Elon Musk, or a very famous one is Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. They are thought leaders. Imagine if Warren Buffett recommends a investment or a stock, you can be sure that a lot of people are going to jump on it. Even if they don't jump on it, they're definitely going to look into it because he has influence, right? Um,
And
so
I
go
want
ahead.
to add to your point about the influence, that it's one of the most important point, as they are in reality they are influencers, right? And not everyone, even in China, thinking about other type of influencers, and like any other authorities or experts, if they have this authority and influence on other people, if they have this image. And just recent epidemic of COVID-19 pandemic in China, to support businesses, local mayors, city mayors, and even governors, they were acting as KOLs. They were promoting online via the live stream through the e-commerce platforms and internet and their own personal blogs. They were promoting local products like from farms or local honored products, which they trust this quality, and through their live streaming, they were endorsing that those products of a very good quality. So just imagine how far advanced now KOL economy in China, if even city mayors and other politicians of local levels, they were helping their local economies to promote those brands.
Yeah, so actually, Virginia brought up a really good point, which is something, it's really a misconception of KOL or KOL marketing. Um, it KOL marketing doesn't really have to be somebody that's big or has a lot of followers. So, somebody like Jack Ma, who has built up his reputation through leading by, actually accomplishing, or like Warren Buffett, who accomplished something great and they become an influencer. And then you have somebody like, the celebrities who became influenced because of entertainment, exposures, and the, influencer on social media who really build up their communities through content and so on and so forth. But really, what Evergenie is talking about is somebody like the city mayor who has influence by authority, right? They are influenced by perceived authority because they are the mayor of the city or somebody. So the idea of influencer, it doesn't have to be somebody big. It could be your friend who has a lot of influence over the group that you guys was in. And if you guys go out to watch a movie and he say, hey, this movie is great, and everyone just trust him, and that's really the idea of influencer marketing, right? So to sum that up,
Yeah.
you want to say something?
Just to
Go ahead.
add about those friends who are going to the movie or to the bar. We used the same conception when we were selling beverages in China, and we worked with gym instructors and health trainers, and they were promoting our own beverages and health products to the audience in the gyms. And also they were promoting it, those, like for example, mineral water through their personal WeChat channels, drinking our water or wearing our t-shirts, which were good for sport. So they were acting as KOLs.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's another great point is if you think about pharmaceuticals, one of their main method of selling their product, which it could be drugs or supplements or whatever, is to work with doctors and hospitals. That is a form of KOL or influencer marketing. And again, how that's been around forever, right? And it is not something new. It is the reason why KOL marketing is trending right now, or it's becoming this hot topic, is because of social media, for one, and two, it's just becoming more and more popular. Which we're going to go into some statistic and why we think KOL marketing is good, a good strategy to implement for your brand. But I want to summarize what we sort of just talked about. So the key definition, at least the way we look at it, is KOL marketing or influencer marketing is the act of selling your product or services through the leverage of another person's influence over a specific group of people. Okay, so there's a couple keywords here, and we're going to explain that a little bit later. But that's really it. It doesn't have to be, a celebrity. It doesn't have to be someone with millions or hundreds of millions of followers. It's really about who has the influence to the market that you want to sell to. Right? Okay. Now let's talk about how influencers differ in China versus sort of the rest of the world. One of the key ones, that I personally feel that is vastly different is KOL marketing is extremely popular in China and is much larger in scale. There's a heck of a lot more KOLs in China than there is, I'm pretty sure, almost anywhere else in the world. Would you say that to be correct, Evgeny? That your experience as well?
Yes, definitely. And China, it's like a major driven power now for e-commerce.
Yes. So that's the second point I wanted to make. The second difference is because China has this habit, or at least the younger Chinese consumers have the habit of shopping online more so than they would go to, say, a retail shop. Not that they don't, but they just have the habit of doing it and shopping through, social media and trusting social media. Influencer marketing has become one of the hottest trend even now to market your product. And another reason why it's kind of different in China than the rest of the world is because in the way of the close nature of China, a lot of brand who may not be exactly registering China or exactly fully in presence in China, or they have a business in China, can leverage KOL marketing without actually being here. And that's one of the reasons, because it's really more of a partnership between two people or two companies to say, hey, would you like to endorse our product, right? So these are some of the key difference. But I want to go over this picture here, and I want to give you guys the idea of how sophisticated KOL marketing is in China. And then I also sort of talk about my experience of influencer marketing here in the West, right? So in US, the rest of the world. So this is sort of a diagram. Now, you don't need to really fully try to understand everything right now, but this is sort of how most KOL campaigns flow in China. So typically there's the platform, right? The platform basically is uh, is really the key about where you want to target your customer, because every platform is a little bit different, and that is one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of experts will tell you about KOL marketing, because they tell you to focus on the KOL or find the right KOL or find the most popular KOL. That's almost the wrong thing to do. And again, we're going to explain how to find the right KOL to work for your brand a little bit later. But just to know that the platforms, such as here, there's different type of platform. There's the e-commerce like Tmall and Taobao, and Douyin, which is a social media video stream. Kuaishou is, again, it's similar to Douyin, but it's very new. It's about short videos. WeChat, Weibo, which many of you know, so on and so forth. So these are the platform that the KOLs are going to be on. They're going to produce the content. But in China, typically you don't go straight to work with a KOL unless they're small, really small. Typically there's agencies, because there's a lot of KOLs, and then there's sort of agency that manages them. So imagine if this is kind of like movie star with their agents, that if you want to sign a contract with a movie star, you tend to work with their agencies. Same with football player and athlete. So in China, there's literally agencies that manages multiple KOLs, and then they negotiate with the brands, and they work with the supply companies and the logistic company to make sure their products are being fulfilled once it's sold by the KOL. The brand on itself is supposed to actually find another content and marketing agency to support it, because the KOL agencies, some of them do, but a lot of them don't actually supply you with the strategy, which is, again, another important key to having a successful campaign that a lot of experts don't talk about. But having that successful content and marketing strategy to go with your KOL campaign is so vitally important, and having all these other support systems below it, such as payments and system and operation, that's really how a good successful KOL campaign looks. Okay, so
just
go
you
ahead.
can see, guys, that this is a really big industry in China. It's not as complicated as you can see it on the first look, but it is complicated if you are not expert in this field. And through this complicity, many marketing agencies, they usually just selling to the brands those big numbers of KOLs, and which we will explain the dark side of KOL in China. And on the other hand, there are good, proper agencies who will support brands with the proper advices.
Yeah. So again, it's really a holistic view of how KOL marketing works in China. It's a system that kind of all works together to make the whole campaign work. So this is something I want to talk about, because in the West, at least up to now, there's not that many influencer agencies. Okay. And oftentimes you can literally just send messages or direct message or DM the influencer to work with them directly. Now, the bigger KOL influencers in the West on YouTube, and so they may have their own company and they may have somebody that can work with you, but for the most part, you can directly reach them or their company. But in China, you generally will have to work with a KOL agency to work with the KOL, to get your campaign setups and do the promotion. Okay, so let's talk about why you should leverage KOL marketing. So before I get into this, I want to be fully transparent and disclose that personally, me and Evgeny don't believe that you must have a KOL marketing campaign to make it work, which is something that I believe you said, it's the stigma right now that if a foreign brand needs to go into China, they need to hire a KOL for it to work, right? The reality is KOL marketing is absolutely amazing, but you got to do it in the right way. Let's go over some statistics and why we believe KOL marketing, why you should be leveraging KOL marketing in China. So first of all, if you, according to Accenture, and they did a study, and this is what I sort of said, is that the Chinese consumer, especially the younger consumer, made decisions based on social media suggestions, or are more accustomed to shop online, almost double than the rest of the world, right? Again, the rest of the world is getting there as well, but Chinese younger, especially the younger consumer, although to be honest, I even see most consumers, even my wife, we mostly purchase stuff online because it's just convenient, it's easier. You can look through a lot of stuff and you just buy it. So there's just that ease and accustomed to do the shopping in China, and a lot of them trust KOL. So which, I'm going to go over some of the statistics. So remember that
Steve,
go ahead.
Steve, let me just add one number to the previous slide.
Okay. I'm not going to slide back, but go ahead.
Okay, please, thank you. There is such personality. Her name is Wei Ya, and her nickname is Queen of Livestream. And this young lady, during one day of sales on Double 11 on Tmall and Taobao, she achieved the number of 2.7 billion of Chinese yuan of sales of goods sold. And this number is equal to the 1 year revenues of the traditional popular retail supermarket, retail point in Shenzhen Coco Park, which is just good, proper, high-end store in very big city of 25 billion people. And there was 1 year annual revenues, 2.6 billion of Chinese yuan in 2019. Same year, one person is a live stream KOL, and she has sold 2.7 billion yuan, and 1 year revenue of the whole supermarket,
right,
shop, big shop, for 2.6 billion yuan. So just imagine how big those numbers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's, again, a lot of times in China, people are actually looking for KOLs to buy product. Again, we're going to explain that a little bit later, but it's like Evgeny said, they're just accustomed to shop online more so than they would go to a retail shop in China. All right, so let's sort of again move on. And some of the other reason about using KOL marketing is not so much the big numbers. Of course, it's popular, it's trending right now. But one of the core reasons we believe that you should leverage KOL marketing if you have a great strategy to go with it is really the trust factors and the referral factors, the peer-to-peer share, recommendation factors. Because if you look at the statistics, 90% of consumer trust peer recommendation, right? Again, if you just think about a friend telling you to buy something that you trust, of course, you have to trust that friend first. And that's what a good KOL should do, right? They build trust with their audience. They build engagements with their audience. So user-generated content is more trusted by internet users than the traditional media. And by traditional media, we're talking about maybe newspapers, traditional advertisement here. So people actually do trust contents that are produced by the KOLs, such as WeChat posts or short video forms on Douyin and so on and so forth, more so the traditional media. And it's something that Evgeny sort of mentioned to me earlier today, and he said that, if you walk through China to see how many advertisements there is, how many did you say?
Yeah. in Shanghai, particularly in any business office building, if you just jump into the elevator, there will be minimum 4 of advertising channels will
Right.
just flowing on you a lot of it's like a waterfall of information. they're
Right.
trying they're just trying to attract your attention. It's
Right.
like TV screens, there are posters, there are some radio translation or audio translation, music saying something like advertising, and there are all even projectors projecting some
Yeah.
cartoons on the doors.
Right. I mean, that's something, it's very rare to see in the West, but having like sort of projected onto the door of the elevator. And once you're in the elevator, it's like projected to the back wall of advertisement. It's like insane the amount of, advertisement there is. And this is not including TV medias, right? Again, Chinese consumers are so bombarded with advertisements and promotions everywhere that they're really looking for a KOL or somebody of influence that they can trust that will recommend them good products. And that's one of the reasons why KOL marketing it works so well, especially right now. Finally, consumers are 71% more likely to make a purchase decision based on social media referrals. Again, it's about building up trust and connections and engagements with their users. That's what KOLs are supposed to do. 80% of the consumer have purchased something after having seen it as a recommendation by KOL. So those were some of the statistics. But I want to go over again. I really like this, blog Forrester that's been shared. And here, this is not exactly China, but this is influencer marketing in UK. But these are some of the words that's what makes KOL difference: the peer-to-peer sureness, right? The persuasiveness, the addiction or addictiveness of the content, the relatability, the beneficial, yeah, the beneficial campaigns that the influencer promotes, the relatable content the authoritative trust that they build with the audience. So these are really the key words or the key reasons why you should be working with an influencer, is because, again, it may sound redundant, but it's like because of the influence, because of the trust, and because of the relatability. All right. So to summarize this video, before we go into the next video, we're going to go over a few key success points that we believe that makes KOL campaign successful in China. So first of all, finding the right KOL. Actually, I really should be putting finding the relevant KOL. So I really want to stress the word relevant, because a lot of experts will tell you to find the right KOL. But if it's a right KOL and that's not relevant, hopefully the right KOL is the relevant KOL that's relevant to the product you're selling and relevant to the market that you try to reach. That's one of the key vital success factors, because you can have a lot of time brands will look for huge numbers. And there's so many disaster stories where they will try to promote their product and the KOL has, millions of followers, but nobody will buy, not even a single sale.
Yeah. I agree with you, and it's really the biggest mistake to find the big numbers of followers, and if those followers are not relevant to your product. We had experienced this problem, and I will tell about this more in our next videos.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about this in the dark side. We're going to give you guys all our experiences of all the ups and downs we have had, working with KOL's influence, the lessons we have learned. But the other key success factor is, again, look for engagements, right? And this goes back to the previous posts I just sort of talked about. KOL marketing is about influence, about relatability. It's about engagements with the audience. It's about having trust with your audience. And if you have a lot of followers with no engagement, you have no trust. Like there's a lot of people that will just go watch an influencer because they made some stupid video that's trending and they had a lot of followers that barely ever tune into them, maybe only once a while. So that's something to look for, is rather to look for big numbers, look for great engagement. Again, the next one is understanding your core market segment. So this is not even about finding KOL, but it's really about understanding exactly where your brand fits in the market in China, and who is the core market that you should be selling to. Because KOLs are not magical, which apparently a lot of brands think they are. But it's really about understanding who you're selling to and what triggers them. And finally, we're going to talk about great shareable content. So that's another key factor, because a lot of time brands come to us because they want to work with KOL, because they want to make a lot of sales, but they really never consider the long term, and they just want to get the KOL to promote their products. But the reality is, if you are able to work with the KOL to create content that user will share, imagine if the KOL has, say, 1 million follower, but then that 1 million follower reshares your content. It's just such a great content. It's engaging, it's funny, it's entertaining, whatever it is, that 10 million people see it. So now all of a sudden you pay for one KOL, but you're getting 10 times the results from that, right? Because of the shareable content. The next one is having a great offer. So this is something actually kind of special to China, because KOL marketing is quite different in China. Almost all KOL expects to be paid, and they tend to use offers and discounts to get the promotion moving. So, but having a great offer is definitely a great trigger point, and it is actually one of the key success factor of having a good campaign here in China. But with that being said, I want to follow that up with the final point, which is to have a strategy. If you just rely on KOL marketing, it's usually spikes. KOL marketing is almost always short term. It's rare for brands, unless they are working with one KOL exclusively for a long period of time through multiple campaigns, or if they have some big idea with, have a really long form KOL strategy, which is what I'm talking about here. Most brands will see spikes in sales when they work with a great KOL, but it usually dies off because people move on, so on and so forth. So unless you have a great strategy to sort of follow up on it, to really capitalize what you invest into the KOL promotions and campaigns that you're going to do, you're going to get success, but it's just going to be very short last. So these are the key success factor that we believe that you should be looking for when you're structuring your KOL campaign. Is there anything else you want to add before we end this first video here, Eugene?
I just want to support our listeners that KOL is a great tool if it's used wisely, if it's built in your whole promotional or marketing strategy. Don't think KOL will be the only solution which will make everything as a miracle. No, KOL are great, but it's a tool.
Yes, again, it's going back to why we think what we just said about why we think KOL marketing is great. It is absolutely great, but just like Evgeny said, it should be just a tool in your toolbox rather than the be and all. That a lot of brands thinks that if they just hire a KOL in China, they're gonna get a lot of success out of it, and it usually never happens. All right. So with that being said, that's the end of this video. And there's the other. After this, you should be watching the other 5 videos that's out there. The next one, we're going to be talking about how to find and think about getting the right KOL to promote your product, brand, and services.